Hi there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of TATTS Podcast. This episode is about Cameroonian cuisine. Cameroonian cuisine is one of the most varied in Africa due to Cameroon's location on the crossroads between the north, west, and the center of the continent. Our guest is Emeline. She's been our guest for the second time, and if you would like to learn more about Cameroon, you can listen to the episode about Cameroon with Emeline. Hello, Emeline. Welcome back.
Hello, Hassan. Hello, Hussein. How are you doing?
We are doing great. It's so nice to talk to you again. But this time around, we'll talk about Cameroonian food.
I'm so excited too about this. Okay, I'm not a foodie, okay, but I'm really just excited to talk about food.
Yeah, Cameroonian food looks so interesting because when we were doing the research, it's so colorful. There are so many things that we didn't understand at all. And there are so many new ingredients. We would love to learn about that from you.
You should. I think, last time I told you that I'm sure you're thinking your weddings are the best, but ours are really the best. I can also assure you that
Yeah,
our food, our delicacies are the best. It's something you should really try. I mean, if you've not eaten Cameroonian food and you're still on planet Earth, you should try that out. It's really yummy. It's so colorful, so tasty, so spicy, and so oily. I shouldn't leave that out.
Interesting. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of Cameroonian food?
It's the fact that it's most certainly not going to be a one pot wonder. It's going to be a 2-pot meal, and it's going to be of different colors, different flavors. It's just going to be something that has been magically combined, cooked for long hours, having an authentic taste that you can only get from African countries with the ingredients that you rarely just find in the African continent. So it's a lot of things that happens when I think about Cameroonian food. I think about a lot of meats, assorted meat, and that's so exciting. I mean, just thinking about having to go home and having some dinner, and you're sure you're going to have meat, you're going to have fish, you're going to have some beef hide, and probably some chevron. It's so exciting already. I should tell you that the reason why I'm so energetic this evening is because I've eaten one of my favorite Cameroonian street foods, which is it's roasted corn. It's crazy. So whenever I know that I'm going to eat roasted corn, I have these butterflies in my stomach. I just feel like a girl in love just because I know I'm going to eat it. So this evening I've had to alight from my taxi about 150 meters away from my street just to be able to buy it. And I'm more excited about today because I have some fresh groundnuts that I'm going to boil after dinner and we're going to eat. I am so happy. Whenever I know I'm going to eat those two, I'm over the moon.
Wow, and you call yourself not a foodie person.
I'm actually not a foodie. That's what's interesting about me. I'm not a foodie. Like, I would eat those things which are not very heavy, just snacks in between meals, and I'll probably even skip my meals just to be able to eat that. So I'm not a foodie. I just have particular things that I crave for, and which if I don't eat, I'm not going to feel whole.
I see. And can you name some traditional meals? Like there was one Ndole and some others.
Yes, Ndole is what is unofficially known as Cameroon's national meal. It's a meal. It's a delicacy that originates from the coastal zone of Cameroon, specifically the littoral region. It's some bitter leaves which are washed to perfection and cooked with boiled ground groundnuts, which become white. They are peeled to a state where they become white and they are ground and cooked with the bitter leaves, which are properly washed. Meat is added to it. Fish is added to it. Anything that is meaty, fishy can be added to it. And what makes it stand out traditionally is maybe the prawns that are added into the Ndole. They are left to float, and there is this grease of we call it in Cameroon groundnut oil, but it's properly known as refined or vegetable oil. So there is vegetable oil that greases floats on the Ndole and makes it so beautiful to see. It's very attractive in the eye, first of all, and then it's very mouth-watering. And it's eaten with white yams, with miondo, with plantains, with cassava tubers. It's eaten with almost everything, yeah. Even with bread, you can have Ndole and it's still going to be good.
Oh, you said cassava. Can you explain
Yeah,
that?
it's really cassava tubers. This is a kind of starchy cash crop that is grown, and it has it's almost like, it's not like a cylinder, but it's kind of long crop which is white in the inside, but on the outer part it's reddish. So it's peeled, it's washed, and it's boiled for about 30 minutes, and it's eaten. It's very tender when you're eating it. So you can be eating with a lot of things. Yeah.
So it's not the thing that you use to make fufu, right?
It's also used to make fufu, but that kind of fufu is known as water fufu. Water fufu, because there is water involved. There is water involved in the process of in the transformative process of the water fufu. So it's fermented. The cassava is fermented, and then later on, it's the fermented water is taken out, and what is left is a paste. It's a kind of whitish paste that is now cooked without any water, because the very product of water fufu is already watery, so it's cooked. So there is that type of fufu, and then you now have fufu that is made from maize that has been dried and has been ground, and it's now kind of powdery foodstuff that you can now cook. And it's also eaten, fufu corn is now eaten with the other thing that is also known as, unofficially known as Cameroon's national food, fufu corn, huckleberry, and Kati.
Oh, wow. So many new things. And we've seen the fufu in a video, but can you explain what is that and how people eat that for our listeners?
We eat it typically with our hands. I can say that you're almost not looked at in a good way when you eat it with a fork, because it's a meal that is eaten and enjoyed better with the hands. And there's this kind of magic with hands. It's just like going to the cinemas and you're trying to eat your popcorn with a spoon. I think people are going to look at you like you're weird. Yeah, so with fufu, you're supposed to wash your hands and eat, so you can be able to suck your fingers when that oil, the greasy palm oil from the chicken, which is known as Kati, when it drips through your fingers, and it's really so traditional a thing to do, but it's so sweet when you eat with your hands.
It's not something like a staple food. That's something that you have every day.
You can actually have that every day. Let me tell you something about fufu corn. In the grass field where I come from, fufu corn is looked at as that one meal that is good for laborers, for people who have lost a lot of energy and need to replenish lost energy, lost calories. You are supposed to eat fufu to be in order to be strong. So you often hear someone from the grass field say, I miss eating fufu. All of this rice I am eating lately, I don't feel like I have fed. So it's a typical man from the grass field part of Cameroon will tell you that they only feel as to eat something heavy like fufu corn, because that's the meal that really energizes. And if I have to be honest, fufu corn is that one meal that when you eat, you feel so strong. Yeah, because it's very heavy. I mean, that's a lot of starch. Yes, the fufu is a starchy kind of meal. And then you have vegetables, and we all know how nutritive vegetables are, right?
Yeah.
And then you now have the icing on the cake, which is the Kati. Kati is actually chicken, but it's chicken that has been spiced with ginger and some cloves of garlic, and then some salt and cubes, and then it's grilled. And you can imagine all the succulent juice from the ginger, the garlic penetrating into the chicken, which is being grilled on hot coal. I mean, the aroma envelopes the entire neighborhood, and everyone knows that you're making a very special dish in your house. So that's how amazing that meal is. It's so inviting.
Yeah, sounds yummy.
It is yummy. It is yummy, and it's super oily. It's it's that oily Cameroonian meal that you just know this is a Cameroonian meal. I mean, there's a lot of palm oil happening in the vegetables, a lot of it happening in the kati because it's essentially grilled and then fried back into palm oil, which is now used as a kind of sausage over the vegetables. And the sausage is very sweet because you can imagine that all the succulent juice from the ginger and the garlic has melted into the palm oil. Yeah.
You mentioned that cooking Cameroonian food takes a lot of time. How much time does it take to cook on average?
Maximum 2 hours. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can be cooking a Cameroon meal for up to 2 hours. Strange enough. I know you may be cooking for about 30, 45 minutes or even 15 minutes, but a good Cameroon meal that is traditional could take you for up to 2 hours, take you up to 2 hours. And there are even meals that could go up to 3 hours. I hope I'm not exaggerating this, but I think that any Cameroon will relate to it that conchaff, a meal like conchaff, which is a porridge of corn and boiled beans will take you up to 3 hours because you have to boil the beans, you have to boil the dried corn, you have to then put those two together and then cook. So if all of that time has to be calculated, I think 3 hours is the maximum that concha could take if you have to do everything in one day.
Mm.
But essentially, it's always 2 hours, 1 hour 45 minutes, 1 hour 30 minutes, an hour. But an hour, I think, is the least. Yeah, is the least for a traditional meal in Cameroon.
So it's quite normal to spend every day 2 hours for cooking.
Exactly, and I think that that's where we are beginning to have a problem with the typical African men in society because they obviously expect an emancipated woman, a woman of a woman who works to sit and cook for 2 hours before or after work. And so those are very unrealistic requests that are making the civilized Cameroonian woman to be at loggerheads with a typical African man. I should put it that way, yes. You understand?
Yeah.
Because it's very strenuous to be in the kitchen for 2 hours after a very hectic day. So when an African man is not so understanding, I think it can pose a lot of problems, especially if they are not into a sort of partnership, sort of, where maybe we can understand that who gets home before the other person should be able to make a meal for the family. Yeah. So you see why we Africans have a lot of issues at that level because it's very demanding.
Yeah.
It's very demanding to cook. So demanding.
I was about to ask this question because here in Tajikistan, it's not even a question who is going to cook. It's always a woman. So they never think who is going to cook.
I think that we share a lot of similarities with your country because that happens here a lot too. It happens here a whole lot. Yeah. Like everybody thinks that women were born with some kind of genius cooking skills, so they're
Yeah.
expected to cook. You get they're expected to cook. It's not even a question, it's not even debatable. But it's true that the narrative is changing and a lot of women are beginning to a lot of men are beginning to share the role, the task with women and understanding that times are changing. Women are also becoming providers like women. So who is more inspired to do the cooking? Who is more available to do the cooking? And who gets home first should be able to think of what will we eat this evening for dinner and not why are you not yet home to cook. And you also know that the typical African men, they won't even go with very easy meals like rice, which would be for 35, 40 minutes, or some very easy meals like noodles. They would want to eat fufu corn at the time when you are totally exhausted. And so that will mean that if you have to get home at 5 p.m., you'll be cooking for right into 8 p.m. in the evening, and you probably end up having dinner at 8:30. And that's a disadvantage to both of you because you're both hungry and tired by the time you're eating the food.
Yeah, but I might be wrong. There are some guys, exceptions, who really help their wives. So there are some nice guys as well.
Yeah, I didn't even intend to go so personal. I didn't intend to go so personal, but my partner does. My partner does it, and he doesn't look at it like help. He takes it to be um sharing of tasks. If I am available, I should be able to do this. If he is available, he should be able to do this. And life is so simple. Life is so easy, and it makes family life so comfortable for the both of you, because you value each other's presence, you value each other's input into the relationship, such that you know that when this person did not do this, it simply meant that they weren't opportunity to do it at the time they could do it, and it doesn't pose any problems.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so which meal is considered expensive and how much is that?
I should say a meal like Ndole is less expensive than a meal like Fufu and Huckleberry. It's also less expensive than the other meal, which is also from the coast, which is Ero and Water Fufu. I think I'm going to give you the details later. Because a meal like Ndole with about $1, you could get Ndole, two considerate bunches of Ndole, and wash them, and you'll be able to cook and feed your entire family for 24 hours or 48 hours. But and what you would likely spend on is the meat, the groundnuts, and the prawns. And if you cannot afford prawns, you could buy crayfish. And then the compliments like with plantains. With another $1, you should be able to afford plantains. With $2, you should be able to afford yams. Any other thing that you can eat with. So I think with about $5, you should be able to make a pot of Ndole. Then something like Fufu and Kati, it should be one of the most expensive dishes we have in Cameroon, because first you have to buy chicken, which could cost you about $4.
Per kilogram?
No, $4 small, $5 to $7 for a whole. No, not in kilograms. Here we'll buy the whole thing and kill it, and then we prepare it.
Oh, you kill it?
Yes, we kill it ourselves.
So,
So wow.
you buy
You
live
chicken?
Yes, we buy it while it's still alive. We would hardly buy from the cold store because we like it very fresh.
Oh, that's the reason. I see.
What about cow and sheep? Do you still buy it live?
No, we don't. We don't. But we have just butchers, so we go to them every morning and buy quantities that we can either cook at a go, or quantities that we want to preserve. So that's the only thing that we don't kill ourselves. The butchers do it. I think we buy a fowl that is still very much alive and kicking. We kill it, and that could cost us that much. And then you now have to buy vegetables for about $2, and that will take you to $9. Then you buy palm oil, ginger, garlic. You buy cubes. You buy salt. You buy corn. With $1, you could buy a quantity of corn that you can feed 2 to 3 people. So that provides 6 plates of fufu corn. So in total, I think you could be needing up to $15 to prepare fufu corn and huckleberry.
For family?
Yeah, you could be needing $15 to prepare fufu corn and huckleberry. And if it's a quantity that is really much, you could be needing up to $20 to prepare that kind of meal.
Oh, one more question about the chicken. Who kills it? A man or a woman, or it doesn't matter?
Okay. Anybody. A child, a woman, a man. But for Muslims who are specific about the chicken being killed by a man. So a practicing Muslim will not eat chicken that is not killed by a man. But we don't care about that because we eat it. I personally cannot kill it. I always have to wait for my partner to kill it. But that's not because there's anything cultural about my fear. It's just because I don't like to. I don't like the idea of seeing a spill of blood I don't just like the idea of killing the fowl myself. So I'll just let him do the killing and the fixing. I'll just come and do the cooking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, somebody's killing, somebody's cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine how diverse is the cuisine in Cameroon because there is an influence of German, French, Portuguese cuisine. So, is there anything that is authentic that is still left from the time when Cameroon wasn't colonized?
I can really not say much. I haven't been out of the country, so I definitely don't even know what Portuguese food looks like or German food. So I think the only thing that may have remained is something like imported kinds of delicacies like rice that could have been an imported cash crop, and then now we eat it, and it's like the most affordable meal in every Cameroonian home, because with $1 you can feed your family with rice. So I think that's one good thing that colonization did to us, because in a very tough economy like Cameroon, it's now very, very expensive to feed a family.
So now rice is something that you have every day?
Yeah, that's something that we have, and that's something that we now cultivate locally. We have swamps, we have rice farms, and we have some specific villages that cultivate rice. But we still import huge quantities of rice. We still do.
And what do you think? What Cameroonian food might seem strange or not normal? Yeah, is there any meal that might really seem strange to a foreigner? But for you guys, it's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. a lot. I could be naming them. I hope that listeners will be able to understand that I cannot go into the details of what this food looks like. But there's something like bongo chobi. It's a black sauce. Can you imagine a sauce being all black, but it's super spicy? Like it has a lot of spice, and that's why I told you that Cameroonian food is so spicy. And if you're one not to be able to take spice, you'll be so shocked that you're eating something that is so spicy to the core. And there is also something like we have meals like cassava leaves. Have you ever seen a cassava stem? Let me just ask. Do you know what a cassava stem looks like?
Yeah, I've seen a picture. It looks like a root.
Yes, the root of it. Now the leaves on the cassava root. We do eat it in Cameroon. It's called nkwem in Francophone Cameroon. That's in the Fang Beti geocultural zone of Cameroon. We eat nkwem, which is made from cassava leaves and groundnuts. We also eat a meal called sanga. That meal is a mixture of cassava leaves, groundnuts, groundnut paste, and maize. So fresh maize. So you can imagine the sweetness from fresh maize and cassava leaves, which are also very sweet and very nutritive because they are said to be rich in iron. So those are some of the meals that could seem strange. You also have something like okra, but I don't think okra will be so strange because we have it in some parts of the world. It's just properly known as ladies' fingers, but we call it okra. We call it okra, and it's very slimy. Another thing that could be super strange to you is a meal that is consumed by people from the west region of Cameroon. It's known as nkui. It's super, super, super slimy. Super slimy. Like it's so slimy that you at some point will need your two hands to be able to separate the soup.
Soup?
Yes, it's a soup, increased soup. So it's so slimy that it's how do I even explain it? It's so slimy that you cannot separate it with an ordinary spoon. It's served with the hands because only the hands have that kind of strength to separate it. So sometimes you'd either have to separate it with experts, separate it with one hand, but non-experts, amateurs like us, we have to separate it with two hands. That is how slimy it is. And it's not so black. I think it's just it's almost a faded black color, but it's so spicy, so nice. And what is magical about that soup is that it is believed to to cleanse a woman's system after childbirth.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine to eat a soup with hands, because here it's impossible. You either drink it or you need a spoon.
Yeah. So, and you cannot even try drinking this one that I'm talking about, because if you do, if it's made in the really good texture, very concentrated texture that I know it in its original form, you may end up drinking the entire plate of soup at a go, because it falls off. If it's falling off, all of it goes down. If you're dragging it, all of it's coming up to you. So that's how slimy it is.
Wow.
It's super slimy.
Oh,
I think I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you a photograph of that. Exactly. But noodles are not slimy, but it's really so slimy. So I think those are the very strange ones. Oh, we also have ekwang. Ekwang is a meal that is it's grated cocoyams wrapped in cocoyam leaves.
Cocoyam, what is that?
Cocoyams, it's a kind of, it's also another kind of tuber.
Uh-huh.
It's sweet, but the sweetness doesn't really stand out, but it's sweet. So it's grated, the white paste is used, and it's wrapped in cocoyam leaves. So the same crop is wrapped in the leaves of the same crop. I don't know if that made sense. A crop is used and wrapped in the leaves of the same crop. That is how strange that meal is. So those are some of the strange meals that one would be surprised to see, but at the same time interested in trying out.
Yeah, we are looking at the pictures of cocoyam. It looks like a potato a little bit, the cocoyam.
It's bigger. It's bigger than potatoes, and potatoes could be yellowish, could be whitish, but this one is essentially white, and it has a kind of brown skin.
Yeah. Okay. You said wrapped in leaves. It reminded me of Kwacoco Bible. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Kwacoco Bible. I think if I had to end this interview without talking about Kwacoco Bible and Achu, I think Cameroonians would definitely hate me. So Kwacoco Bible, Kwacoco, you have Kwacoco. It's also cooked with cocoyams. It's grated cocoyams. The paste is mixed with palm oil, with salt, with cubes, and pepper, which is optional. And you have some dry fish added to it, and any other kind of fish anyone can afford. And now with this one, you don't use cocoyam leaves to wrap. You use a different kind of leaf, which is plantain leaves, to wrap the cocoyams in it. So you wrap it in the shape of a cylinder, and you cook it for about 45 minutes. And when it's ready, you open it, and it has a kind of hot yellow color. You have the vapor that comes out of it, and you can't just wait to dive in and begin to eat it with kanda soup. Kanda soup is a reddish kind of soup. Kanda sauce, it's a reddish kind of sauce that is made from beef hide. That's the skin of beef. It's cooked to perfection. It's skinned and then roasted and then boiled, cooked to perfection, and it's used to making sauce. We cook it quite tender, and we make a sauce in palm oil, and it's really good when the two are eating. Now, the amazing part about Kwacoco is it's that affordable Cameroonian meal that with even $2, you could cook it without making a sauce, and we'll still eat it because it already has all of those ingredients in it. It already has oil, it has meat, it has fish, it has salt, it has cubes and pepper. So it's optional to have the sauce that goes with it. So if it's a struggling family or it's just a family that wants to have something very light that they could go for Kwacoco. Super affordable, yeah.
Oh, so at the end it looks like a sausage, right?
Yes,
Shape.
yes, it does. It does look like that.
Yeah, I saw it in the video, and I had no idea how it tastes like. It looks yellow inside and like a sausage.
Exactly.
So I was really curious about that one.
Yeah, it's really nice. And then we have another. So you can, if you notice, every food I'm giving has a kind of characteristic. If it's either red, it's either yellowish. So another kind of yellow food we have is achu. Achu is prepared with alkaline. Alkaline and palm oil will give you the yellowish achu soup, which is eaten with pounded cocoa yams that is pounded with some bananas, and it gives it a kind of tender, elastic kind of texture. So you eat it with the soup, and it's another very expensive dish to afford in Cameroon.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now. It looks like like a lake,
Volcano.
like a volcano.
It
Inside a
does.
dough.
I think you've perfectly described it. It does look like that.
And there is a skin, right?
Yes, cow skin. We add cow skin to the soup. We add beef. We add dry fish. What else do we add? And then we also to make it look so much like an expensive dish. To give it its grandeur, we add huckleberry on the side. So you have so many things going on for just one meal. So a typical achu meal, prepared in all its ramification, would be very expensive, and it would probably be a 3-pot wonder, just like Kati.
Oh, the chicken.
Yeah,
Kati.
yeah. Oh, I'm loving the way you're really liking it. I have a feeling you'll be coming to Cameroon anytime soon.
Yeah, I think I would like that because we like trying new things and
I
it
would
looks
specially
yummy.
prepare it for you if you come to Cameroon.
Wow, thanks.
I know I'm not a foodie, right? But there is something about that meal. I could eat up to I could finish a bundle of fufu if I have to eat kati. I could even go for a half, another half if I'm eating kati because it's just so yummy. I mean, it's that classic dish that when you tell someone I'm inviting you to my house, I'm making kati for lunch, that person knows that they're going to have the meal of a century. It's a meal that to which we attach a lot of importance.
Okay, so it's nearly 40 minutes we are talking about the food. and and now I feel hungry.
Oh.
So is there anything else left that is really important about Cameroonian food that you haven't mentioned yet?
It's probably arrow that I haven't mentioned. Arrow, which is made from a leaf called Natum africanum or African jointier. It's also a species of leaves that you can find natively throughout tropical Africa. So it's shredded. It's and then it's washed. It's washed like I personally wash it as if I'm doing laundry. You get, because it has a slimy kind of it has a slime. It's slimy. It's a dry leaf, but once you scrub it in water, there's some slimy byproduct that comes out from it, which I believe that is sometimes will cause stomach ache. So I often like to wash it as if I'm doing laundry, and then I prepare it with spinach. I think yes, yeah. That's what we use. We prepare with it. We use palm oil and we use assorted meat. Arrow is that meal that if you prepare without making the whole meal obstacled in quotes, which by obstacled in Cameroon in local parlance, we mean that it has meat, it has beef hide, it has dry fish, it maybe even has snails, because yes, we do consume snails in Cameroon. I personally don't eat it, but we consume snails in Cameroon. So once you prepare arrow, you should be when you're cooking arrow, you should be prepared to make it obstacled with as assorted meat as possible as you can afford. But if you cannot, it's fine to go with just one kind of meat. But it's essential, it's very important to have assorted meat because that's what gives it the arrow identity. And it's eaten with water fufu, which is a process from cassava, transforming cassava to a kind of watery white paste. It's also eaten with gari, which is also another transformative process from a byproduct that is gotten from cassava tubers. So we'll be talking of Ndole. If you're talking Cameroon, you should be talking of Ndole. You should be talking of Eru. You should be talking of Fufu corn, huckleberry, and Kati, among other things. Because I believe we have. I think I approximate. I know I shouldn't be approximate about it, but I think we have close to or even over 100 meals in Cameroon.
Wow,
We
that's
do.
a lot. Yeah, that's a
That's
lot.
a lot.
Yeah. Um, I'm glad that we made an episode about Cameroonian food because last time when we had a conversation about Cameroon,
Yeah.
when we made an episode about Cameroon, we didn't even have an idea that the food in Cameroon is so diverse, so colorful. And now that we have learned from you and we did some research, there is a lot to offer in Cameroon.
There is. There is. If you were coming to Cameroon, I'll treat you first of all to street food. I'll treat you to soya brochettes. I'll treat you to plantains and roasted plantains and plums. I'll treat you to achombo. Achombo is like a signature breakfast in French Cameroon. It's puff balls eaten with fried beans, eaten and also with pap. So it's a signature kind of meal, kind of breakfast. It's also a signature dinner in many homes. It's an all-hour food. That it's an all-hour snack. Achombo, we call it achombo, which is a very local name. It's known for in Cameroon, but it's basically puff balls, beans, and pap. Yeah. So with just about 40 cents, you can have achombo.
Wow.
So in Cameroon, you cannot starve. You just have variety, and there is everything for everyone. Yeah. If if your income is so low that you can only afford about 50 cents a day for food, I think you should be able to eat a chombo the whole day. If you can afford up to $2, then you'll be treated to some roasted fish. I mean, fish that has been spiced with cubes, salt, with white pepper, and I mean with marinade. It's so good. Oh my goodness, I think you should really visit Cameroon.
Yeah.
It's such a nice experience, and we have dessert too. We have groundnut pudding. We have that's peanut pudding. We have pumpkin seeds pudding, which is known as a goosey pudding.
Mm.
We have akra banana, which is made from cassava tubers and plantains and fried. So we have puff balls made from cassava tubers and plantain and banana. So it tastes really sweet. You have pepper soup. When you're sick in Cameroon, the first question you'll probably be asked is, will you want to eat pepper soup? Because pepper soup is really spicy, really pepperish. And one thing you should know about Cameroonian food is that there is a lot of pepper involved. So if you're eating Cameroon, maybe you should be keen on saying, oh please, I wouldn't want pepper if you're not a pepper consumer. Because we tolerate a lot of heat in our food. So I don't know about you, but in Cameroon we tolerate a lot of heat in our food. So we always apply pressure with our pepper in the food.
Yeah.
And then you also have something like you have peanut soup, you have peanut sauce, you have fried potatoes and omelets, fried plantains and omelets. That's kind of breakfast you would have in Cameroon if you came here. So we have so much. It's so much. It's so much to talk about. You see the way my mood lightens up whenever I'm talking about Cameroonian food. That's what you get when there's variety. You're just so excited that, oh wow, there's food. So when there's a buffet, you just know that you'll be treated to something, to a variety of dishes, and you wouldn't know what to even put and not to put in your plate.
Yeah, I think buffet would be a right choice because you can try so many things at the same time, the same place.
Exactly. So it's really a lot. It's really a lot to try, because if you just have to, if we have to go from the street food to our main meals and then to our dessert, it's a lot. And then our kind of liqueurs, our kinds of beverages, which are either natural or traditional. Oh my goodness, it's a lot. I think we'd need like 2 weeks to talk about just Cameroonian dishes. So this is just a kind of it's a compressed version of Cameroonian dishes.
Yeah, 40, 50 minutes is definitely not enough.
I think it's going to be enough. It's going to be enough for today because I know that if I keep talking about Cameroonian dishes, you may change your mind and put your trip to schedule your trip to Cameroon for the end of this year. And since I'm not ready to receive you yet, I think I should just hold it here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, Emeline, thank you so much for sharing about Cameroonian food and for taking the time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to Hassan and Hussein. It's really lovely being on your podcast episodes 2 times. I think
Yeah.
I'll be willing to come back some other time to talk about something else. Hopefully, I don't mind being your regular guest because you two are really interesting and you're doing something so different. So it's always a pleasure coming back to you.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you.
That you're welcome. It's my absolute pleasure.
It's good to have you. Bon appetit for everyone, and we'll talk to you later then. Maybe someday again.
Okay, thank you.